So what's up, everybody? This is your boy Jonathan, back at it again. I wanted to give guidance because and that's what this channel is about now, because when I was transitioning into adulthood and had to become something, I didn't really have guidance in my life, and I made a lot of bad decisions and bad choices and ended up wasting 12 years of my life, and I don't want to see other people go through that. So I'm here to offer practical guidance. Um so, what I want to talk about today is basically how not to get brainwashed. A lot of people are going to brainwash you into their personal preference or their way of thinking, and then you're never going to have anything. And I don't want to see other people to go down the same path. So, that's what I wanted to talk to you today about, being brainwashed. And I'll give you a perfect example. I grew up in San Francisco. San Francisco is a lot of Asians, and I got exposed to Japanese music, and I really love Japanese music. But a lot of people around me were angry about me liking Japanese music. The reason is we don't have a strong black community in San Francisco, and because of that, a lot of this black people were forced out of San Francisco because they couldn't hold it together because the community wasn't that strong, and most of the Asians were pushing them out and buying up their property. And a lot of people were angry about the situation, the political climate. So when they found out I was like in Japanese music, it was like total disrespect to everybody. Everybody was angry. Everybody was frustrated at me. So lo and behold, I end up going to the community college and I start taking Japanese classes. And I really liked taking Japanese class, and I had some friends there. I had got invited to people's houses. Some girls thought I was cute, and oh, he's the cute guy who wants to learn Japanese, well, whatever. And I remember getting yelled at by somebody saying that's not true. People think you're a weirdo and nobody likes you and you have no friends, and I don't like you because you're not black enough and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And they were just tearing me down, and they kind of got into my head where I felt like I would be losing their love and their attention if I didn't just kind of live up to their standards. And what I ended up doing is I didn't want to quit Japanese because I really like Japanese. But what I did was started to act like a stereotypical black guy, loud and obnoxious and ghetto, who was forced to be in Japanese, or who was forced to take the Japanese classes. So I'd be in class acting loud, obnoxious, and ghetto, and making fun of white people, or making fun of the idea that white people are culture vultures and steal other people's cultures. And I was just like crazy acting because I wanted attention. And I remember one time going to a study hall and getting help, studying for a Japanese test. And I was trying to ask somebody next to me a question, and they turned bright red and they stood up and they started yelling at me Japanese, like, you need to go away. You understand what you're doing to people. You need to go away. And they were screaming at me in Japanese and walked out of the study hall. And it made a big scene, and everybody was looking like, whoa, like, what just happened? Right? But whatever, I was so brainwashed about like nobody liking me that I wasn't black enough. I just continued the behavior and continued acting a certain way. So what ended up happening is one semester I ended up taking Japanese class, and I met these two girls, and they were the type of, so-called friends that want to egg you on to make you do stuff to get you in trouble so that they can laugh at you. So, they would tell me to go to these shady places in San Francisco and come back and tell them the story what happened. So instead of studying Japanese, I was in there being like, oh yeah, I went to this shady place last night and this is what happened. I went to that shady place and that's what happened. And I was making a big scene in our classes, and people who were trying to study, they were like, dude, like, calm down. And the girls were laughing, egging me on because they weren't really my friends. They just wanted a cheap form of entertainment. And then, one time, And this was really immature, but they just took me to a bus stop and they pulled out a bunch of hard liquor, and we were just chugging liquor at the bus stop, getting drunk, like being stupid. So I ended up failing out that semester. Not just Japanese, but all my classes, because I was basically acting the same way in all my classes. Because, I thought I had to be stereotypical black to make friends. And I failed out all my classes, and it turned out I didn't have no friends. And those girls that I thought were my friends, they disappeared. Nowhere to be found. They just kind of disappeared and never saw them again. So what ended up happening, I came back for one last semester. And I was so beat up and depressed that I was working at the post office at the time, and everybody knows that the post office, it's extremely dirty and nasty and dusty in there. So I would go to school in these dusty, nasty work clothes. And I would just look like crusty and musty or whatever. And so what ended up happening was I was in there and I was doing the same and making stupid jokes and